Welcome to English Easy Hub. Join us as we ignite the flames of your English learning journey together.
Please subscribe to watch and embark on your English learning journey. Don't miss out on the exciting content. In this dialogue, Alex seeks guidance from a professor on the essential aspects of English pronunciation, particularly focusing on tone, intonation, rhythm, and connected speech. These elements are pivotal for mastering natural and fluent spoken English. Through an insightful exchange, the professor delves into the importance of tone and intonation in conveying emotional nuances, and how rhythm helps maintain a natural flow in conversation. Alex gains valuable techniques on improving pitch variation, stress, and the rhythmic patterns of English, ultimately discovering how these tools work together to produce fluent, expressive speech.
Hi, Professor. I've been diving into English pronunciation recently, and I've noticed that two elements stand out: tone and intonation. Could you share some insights on the secrets behind them?
Tone and intonation are absolutely fundamental in spoken English. Let's start with tone. In English, tone typically refers to the pitch of your voice, how high or low you go. It's often used to express emotions like surprise, anger, or excitement. However, unlike languages like Mandarin, where tone can change the meaning of a word entirely, English uses tone more to convey emotional nuance or emphasis, rather than altering a word's fundamental meaning.
So, tone in English isn't as crucial as in Mandarin, where the pitch can completely change the word. But in English, it's more about conveying feelings. Could you give a concrete example of how tone affects the emotion behind a word?
Exactly. Let's take the word really. If you say really with a rising tone, you're probably questioning something. Perhaps you're surprised or unsure. On the other hand, saying really with a falling tone can imply sarcasm or doubt, as if you're disbelieving. The tone shifts the emotional meaning without changing the actual word itself, which is fascinating.
That makes sense. So tone helps convey emotions like surprise or disbelief. Now, what about intonation? How does it differ from tone and what's its role in English?
Great question. Intonation refers to the rise and fall of your voice across an entire sentence or phrase. It's what makes speech sound musical and dynamic. While tone affects individual words to convey emotions, intonation is about shaping the overall meaning of a sentence. For example, in English, the rising intonation at the end of a sentence often signals a question, whereas a falling intonation typically signals a statement or certainty. Intonation helps listeners understand the speaker's attitude or intention.
So, intonation works at the sentence level, while tone focuses on individual words. Can you give me an example of how intonation can completely change the meaning of a sentence?
Sure. Let's use the sentence, "You're coming to the party." If you say it with a rising intonation, "You're coming to the party?" It's a question, implying that you're uncertain or surprised. However, if you say it with a falling intonation, "You're coming to the party," it's a statement, showing that you already know the person is coming and there's no surprise involved. The intonation shifts the meaning, turning a question into a statement and vice versa.
That's really eye-opening. So intonation can completely alter how we interpret a sentence. How can I improve my own intonation to make my speech sound more natural?
To improve your intonation, start by focusing on 3 areas: pitch, stress, and rhythm. First, practice varying your pitch. Make your voice rise and fall across sentences. Record yourself and listen to see if you're using natural variations. Second, focus on stress. English tends to stress content words like nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Practice stressing these words and reducing function words like articles or prepositions. Lastly, rhythm plays a huge role. English is stress-timed, which means there's a regular rhythm between stress syllables, but unstressed syllables are spoken quickly or even reduced.
So pitch, stress, and rhythm are the three key components to intonation. But what happens if I speak too quickly or feel nervous? Does that affect how I use tone and intonation?
Yes, speaking too quickly or feeling nervous can definitely affect your tone and intonation. When you speak too fast, your pitch may flatten, making your speech sound monotone. This can lead to confusion for the listener, as they may not pick up on the emotional nuances you're trying to convey. If you're nervous, your voice may become higher pitched or shaky, signaling anxiety or uncertainty. To counter this, practice speaking more slowly and deliberately when you're nervous, and focus on steadying your breath. This gives you time to control both your pitch and intonation, making your speech sound more confident and clear.
That makes sense. So, when I'm nervous, I should focus on slowing down and breathing deeply to keep my intonation stable. But how do I practice these skills effectively?
A great way to practice is by mimicking native speakers. Watch videos, TV shows, or movies and pay attention to how the speakers use intonation, how their pitch rises and falls throughout a sentence. Try to mimic the rhythm and emphasis they use. Another effective method is singing along to songs. Many songs have a natural flow of rising and falling tones, and by singing along, you'll start to internalize the pitch patterns and rhythm of natural speech. Also, try shadowing. Listen to a recording of a native speaker and speak along with them at the same time, focusing on matching their tone, pitch, and rhythm.
Mimicking native speakers and singing along to songs sounds like a fun way to practice. But how can I measure my progress? How do I know if I'm improving?
You'll know you're improving when you start feeling more comfortable using varied pitch and stress without thinking too much about it. Your speech will sound more dynamic, not flat or monotonous. Another way to measure progress is by recording yourself. Listen to your recordings critically. Do you hear natural shifts in pitch? Are you stressing content words in the right places? If you notice improvement in these areas, you're on the right track.
That's really helpful. So, once I feel more natural with pitch and rhythm, I'll know I'm on the right path. Thanks for the guidance. I can't wait to start practicing these techniques.
You're welcome, Alex. Keep practicing and be patient with yourself. The more you work on it, the more natural it will feel. And remember, consistency is key.
Professor, you mentioned that rhythm plays a huge role in English pronunciation. Could you explain more about how rhythm works and how it contributes to sounding fluent?
Of course, English follows a stress-timed rhythm. This means that stressed syllables are spaced evenly in time, while unstressed syllables are compressed or reduced. For example, in the sentence, I want to go to the store, the stressed words are want, go, and store, and the unstressed words like to and are pronounced more quickly or even reduced to almost nothing in fast speech. This rhythm is what gives English its smooth, flowing sound. Native speakers tend to speak in this rhythm without thinking about it, but for learners, it's crucial to focus on stressing content words and reducing function words to sound more natural.
So, English speakers stress certain words and reduce others to maintain rhythm. That sounds like something I can practice. How can I improve my rhythm and practice without sounding too mechanical?
Yes, that's exactly it. You can practice rhythm by reading sentences or dialogues from movies, focusing on the stressed and unstressed words. Start slow, and then gradually increase your speed as you become more comfortable with the rhythm. Poetry is another great tool, as it follows rhythmic patterns that can help you practice stress and timing. Over time, you'll start to feel more natural as you adjust your rhythm to sound like native speakers.
Poetry sounds like a really creative way to practice. And you also mentioned connected speech. Could you explain how that relates to rhythm and fluency?
Certainly, Connected speech happens when words link together in fast speech. Native speakers often merge sounds between words so that speech flows more smoothly. For example, I'm going to can become, I'm gonna, and what did you say might sound like what I is say. Mastering connected speech is essential for sounding fluent and natural, as it removes awkward pauses between words. To practice, listen to how native speakers connect their speech and try to imitate those linkages.
That's amazing. It's like there's an invisible thread connecting words together. Thanks so much, Professor, for all these incredible insights. I can't wait to put them into practice.
You're very welcome, Alex. Keep listening, practicing, and observing how native speakers use these techniques. Your pronunciation and fluency will improve with consistent effort. You got this.
The core value of this conversation lies in the practical application of tone, intonation, rhythm, and connected speech in everyday English. By mastering these elements, learners can enhance their ability to communicate clearly, emotionally, and naturally. Tone provides emotional depth, intonation shapes sentence meaning, rhythm supports fluid speech, and connected speech ties everything together to make English sound more native-like. Through consistent practice, by mimicking native speakers, focusing on stress patterns, and reducing function words, learners can achieve improved fluency and expressiveness. The key takeaway is that pronunciation is not just about individual sounds, but the dynamic way in which words and phrases flow together to convey meaning and emotion.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share to keep the English learning journey alive.